Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 74.
I feel like your voice cut off there.
Didn't cut off. Some inflection. Putting some energy into this shit.
Okay, good job, Jim.
Right, this is how we got to get big.
Never mind. So what are you drinking tonight, Jim?
Well, going along with that theme, from the Wild Barrel Brewing Company. Brewing? Yeah, Wild Barrel Brewing Company. I am drinking the
Wait,
Vice.
can you say that 3 times fast?
Give me a second. Wild Barrel Brewing Company, Wild Barrel Brewing Company, Wild Barrel Brewing Company.
Not bad.
Yeah. Comes to us from San Marcos, California. I'm having the Vice Passion Cactus Dragon Fruit Sour Berliner Weiss style. 5.2% alcohol by volume and no text, so no bit.
Sour
Berliner Weiss.
No, but it was dragon fruit and what else?
Passion Cactus Dragon Fruit.
Passion cactus. Wow, that's a mouthful right there. But I know you like sours, and that's along that path, so I'm sure you'll like it.
Oh, the sips I've had so far already are delicious.
Is it? Was that from the same package you said? Yep. Nice.
From my Craft Beer King box.
Oh man. So Jim, I don't know if you've tried this one, but I'm going with the El Segundo Brewing Company Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA.
No, I haven't yet, but I want it. I haven't had a chance.
6.7%, and if you're a fan of Stone Cold, you've probably seen him pour this out. It's Broken Skull India Pale Ale, a badass 6.7% IPA designed by Steve Austin and El Segundo Brewing Company for the working man and woman. It features Citra, Cascade, and Chinook hops to deliver big flavor with an easy finish. Now stop reading and start enjoying this awesome beer. Cheers.
This is one I've wanted to try for a while.
Okay. Well, I don't want to break your heart.
Not anything special?
I have had one of these already, and yeah, it's you know what it tastes like? It tastes like if Bud or Miller tried to make an IPA.
Oh.
It's like they're trying to make an IPA like very for the everyman and for like just using Steve's name.
Right.
I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm not saying that, but
it's approachable.
Like you and I have said about how many IPAs, there is beyond nothing special about this one. It's what it is. It will be a fine gateway IPA if his name is big enough to bring people to try craft beer.
All for it.
This could do it. Are you a little shocked as I am for him being such a, light beer guzzling, that whole image, and now he's doing IPAs? Isn't that a little odd?
Look, he's got a refined palate. What can you say? Can't always be Steve Weisers, Brian.
I'm just saying, you don't find it odd? Would you have ever, not that you knew what an IPA was back then,
right?
But from the Attitude Era Steve Austin, imagine him sitting back with an IPA.
Hey, he could be making a Passion Citrus Dragon Fruit, so...
This is true. I mean,
I'd say it's a little more on brand if he's going to go that route.
I also think he doesn't drink this at all. I mean, he's just tying his name to something. It's the hottest type of beer, and it's, I've never heard of El Segundo before. No. Is that his brewing company, or did he just... I mean, I know what it says on there, but does he have like a stake in that?
From what I remember, because I used to listen to his podcast all the time, I think it is just like a smaller brewery down there that he brought a lot of notoriety to because it's Steve Austin. So I think it's someone he actually teamed up with. So very smart on their part.
It actually begs the question. I'm shocked. You and I have talked with beer brewing being that one of the hottest growing markets. I'm shocked you don't see more of these celebrity sports figure, collaborations with breweries to get something out there. Especially if you have people the size of a Weyerbacher or a Stone Brewing, where they're craft, but they're big enough to afford. Yeah, man, tie wrestlers, whatever celebrities will do it to a beer and sell the shit out of it. I'm just shocked I don't see that more.
It almost seems like they like once people for the most part hit a certain wealth level, they're either making like their own vodka or like their own wines. So you see them out the ass, but yeah, you don't see it with beer.
And whiskeys. So yeah.
It's too trashy.
I mean, beer in general will always have a certain. It's kind of like the early days of the UFC. It's like everyone's like, oh, that brutal sport. And then it tried to get legitimized and yada, yada, yada. And I think that's what beer is trying to go through as well right now. So, hey, I'm just, I was glad I was able to find it because I was like you. I really wanted to try it. So,
where did you find it? Was it like a local store? Was it sent away?
The fuck is it called? Super Value Beverage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, now that our damn bottle shop is closed.
Yep. Did not survive the Rona.
Well, it was actually closed before the Rona.
Oh. Didn't survive the Rona. Knew it was coming.
That's right. That guy behind the register seems so smart.
Right. He was such a people person. How did it not survive?
He was interesting. I'll say that.
Not a bad guy.
No, not bad. And he was actually quite nice. And I said he gave me a really cool free
hand job.
Well, yeah, the hand job is complimentary with every 6-pack, but the bottle opener, it was like a Victory or something. I forget. It was a specialty beer one because I just said, "Hey, do you guys sell those shitty little beer openers?" Because I didn't have one, and like he just gave me this one, so I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, he saw you enough. It's always good to have that rapport. Yeah.
All right, Chambers Wambers. So, what have you been playing this week?
I didn't really play a lot because I'm back to work full time. So instead of getting up, at like 7 or like 6:45, I'm getting up at 5:15 every morning now. So it kind of kicked my ass. Like the one night we stayed up when you were streaming playing Call of Duty, like I went to bed at like 8:30 2 nights in a row after that. So I barely played anything. One night I played a little Rocket League with some friends. Another night I gamed with you. And then maybe for like a random half hour here and there, I'd play some Tetris 99. But that was about it. I'm gonna delve back deeper into some shit this week. I got plans.
Interesting. Are they plans that are gonna make me angry?
No, I think you'll enjoy these plans.
Okay. Yeah, as Jim said, he streamed here. He did jump into a stream when I was doing Call of Duty. Very good for your first or second time, whatever.
I peaked with the first game.
That was quite nice. And then I did my other than that, yeah, this week. Oh, you know what I did? I did go back and I did it last week before the podcast too, but I forgot. I've been going back into No Man's Sky, which I had on the PS4 and I re-downloaded it for the Xbox because they've released so much for that game.
Did you get that like Dead Space looking expansion?
I mean, yeah, they just have everything released for it, and the one Jim's talking about, and people, I'm sure you've seen the trailers, they make it a very more horror, alien style, like a derelict spacecraft lands, and you explore it, and there's aliens. But other than that, from last time I played on the PS4, the interface is different, the look is different, it's just... They put a lot of work into it, and like a lot of games that don't deliver on launch or whatever happens goes wrong, this is an example of what a developer can do to justify that shit and make like amends for any mistakes they had at that launch. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but like No Man's Sky, kudos to them for still keeping with it because they could have been like, oh, this bombed and then moved on, but they wanted to make it work.
The best two examples I think of is them and like Friday the 13th.
I'd say more like Final Fantasy 14, but Friday the 13th, they could have added some more stuff still.
Yeah, but still, just the fact that they added, the ability to do computers, the ability to go through a quote-unquote story. It's not much of one, but then there's they definitely added virtual... Yeah, so... Yeah. Whenever people add that much shit for free, and especially I look at Friday the 13th because... That was still only a $40 game. So, it was never full price. Alright. So, then I did the Bloodthirsty Thursdays. And I did all those arcade games. And my God, was that so much fun. When did you bail out, Jim?
Early. I was only around for a couple minutes.
Okay, so Night Slashers, I hadn't played it before. I've read about leading up to that. Dude, that is so goddamn fun.
You were loving that from what I saw.
Well, and then as it wore on, like the gore, the goofiness, the amount of like different random moves, like it's just one of those. I wish they did more ports for systems or like, something. Like Data East needs to do a really massive good port of their arcade games because they had a lot of great ones. Then I moved on to Aliens, which I had played before. It's fun. It's not as good as Night Slashers, but it's a fun, just side-scrolling shooter. And then, of course, finished up with Aliens versus Predator, which, man, after replaying it, it probably has to go down as my favorite arcade game.
You got that to work, huh?
Yeah, I basically had to run a whole different MAME to make it work. It was so goddamn annoying. And apparently it's one of the most troublesome things you can try and run. But essentially, I got that working. And when I first started playing it, I'm like, man, this game is really good. And then like by the time I beat it, I was going back and forth. Is it better than Night Slashers? Is it not? I think it's definitely a better game than Night Slashers. I like what's going on in Night Slashers because of the horror shit. But yeah, dude, Alien vs Predator, favorite arcade game. Such a fun beat 'em up, and it's just I love the shit out. Like you've played that, right?
A very little bit because it's never been ported anywhere. So
I know that's another one.
I think it's maybe on a arcade 1-up or coming to an arcade 1-up, but that's really about it. So, yeah, that's one that too many licenses and blah 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 blah. But
yeah,
that's one that desperately needs someone to do something or other to bring it back.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so haven't been playing a ton of new stuff. Just still going through the motions, and this week I'll have another random game or two for Bloodthirsty Thursdays. So I got really nothing on the docket as far as particular new games I'm going to be playing.
Cool. Yeah. I've got some. I actually want to really start. We're in such a bubble right now. I really want to just start going through some of like my more expensive games that like tripled in value in the past like 2 years. Play through them, record them, give them to you to bar for a little bit, and then we can review them whenever and just fucking sell. Gotta strike with that iron's hot.
Jim, I feel like you are one of those you never sell.
I really don't, but there's a lot of them, obviously. That's like I either barely touch or like I know after I play through them, I probably for the most part won't be going through them again. So I figure if we get the footage, do the review, I got my use out of it. Give me my return on investment there.
Jim, is it like your goddamn Beetle Racing 64?
No, that's not one of them. That I've got stuff that's way crazier than that.
So disappointed in that, and I like how you skirted my question, you son of a bitch.
Oh, the cost, it was like $70.
Yeah. Why did I've known you long enough to know that is not a particular hot title you've always wanted. Where did you come across that you thought I need to get this, and where did you even buy it from?
What do you call it? A local store, which I got it a few weeks back, but it ties into a topic I have coming up here. If you want to hit it real quick.
We'll hit it up later. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it was a local store, and it's one that I've always seen in videos for a while. And it was a few weeks back, and I was just like, yeah, what the hey.
$70. What the hey. You son of a bitch. And you still haven't gotten Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 2 Remake, have you?
I've had Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Did you get Resident Evil 3 Remake?
No, not yet.
Well, then there you go. I win. All right, Jim. I got something for you.
All right.
I want you to get your grumpy cat face off. And I want you to have your beer ready, and you can't be looking at your phone.
Okay.
So I found some just really ridiculous, stupid, and kind of corny but semi-funny one-liner jokes I want to tell you. And if you laugh, you have to drink.
Okay.
Did you just rub your face?
Yes, yeah, it's exactly what I was doing.
See, is this that bad? I only got 3 jokes. I'm keeping it small.
All
but
right.
I found like a list of 100 of these jokes. And these, knowing your sensibilities, I tried to pick ones that I thought you would laugh at. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
And you can't purposely try not to laugh.
Okay.
Okay. First one. It's an easy one, and this is probably the one you won't laugh at. Why does Santa have such a large sack?
Why?
Because he only comes once a year.
Okay. Next one.
Choke
Good. Choke on it. Choke on it. You bitch.
Did you laugh at that?
No.
All right. How do you embarrass an archaeologist? How do you embarrass an archaeologist?
How?
Give him a used tampon and ask him which period it came from. Jim.
It almost cracked me. I'm just
Jim,
the level of dad that is going on right now.
Jim, are you just so mad that I'm bringing this on to you?
Partially. Maybe partially.
All
It'd be
right.
fun. I laugh at things.
You don't. And this is also a social experiment I'm doing with you. And you'll see the compilation I'm going to make of it. All right. So, a family was driving behind a garbage truck when a dildo flies out and thumped against the windshield.
I'm already laughing.
Embarrassed, and to spare her young son's innocence, the mother turned around and says, "Don't worry, dear. That was just an insect." "Well," the boy replies, "I'm surprised it could get off the ground with a cock like that."
Damn it. All right. That's a good one. That got me. I was already starting to giggle because of our little bachelor party story with the dildo, so
Oh,
that got me in the mood. God damn it.
So now we can move on to Patreon questions.
Well, on that note, patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on this Power Hour podcast. So before we get into this week's, as happens from time to time, one of our buddies was a little bit late, so of course we'll ask his question from last week. So he asked it the day late. Our buddy Game Rational has a little bit of a habit of missing it by a day and being like, "Oh shit, did you guys record yesterday?" So he's a good boy. We give it a pass. So his question from episode 73. What is your favorite TurboGrafx 16/PC Engine shmup? Brian, I'm sure you're an expert in this field.
None. I don't know. You know, I don't know TurboGrafx like that.
Yeah, I know.
I can't even. What was that game you had me try? The when we did the fuck. What the hell was the name of it? I played a little bit of one of them, but honestly, I can't even realistically give an answer to that. That's all Jim.
Yeah, what do you call it? I'm probably going to go with a real basic answer and say Blazing Lasers. I like compile shooters, and it's the one that's straight, like if you've ever played a compile shooter, that is right in line with it. It's one of the most loved games on the system for a reason, so it's a very basic TurboGrafx answer, but it's still the one I go back to the most. It's either that or Galaga 90. I really like Galaga 90, even though I suck at it. And for those that don't know, it's Galaga, but they updated it with like more levels, more objectives, and stuff like that. So it's a really good take on that classic arcade kind of game.
That's such a silly ass name, Blazing Lasers.
It's called Gunhead in Japan. It's based on an anime there, or an anime or a movie. I forget which, but it's licensed over there. But here they had to Americanify it.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like saying Stabby Knives or Shiny Sun.
I'd play those.
Such a you. I know you would, Jim, and I know you'd pay a pretty penny for them too.
But what do you go? Well, I mean, we have Golden Sun. That's an RPG series people like.
I rest my case.
Hey, I like RPGs. Stupid menu simulators.
You don't like a lot of things. You're no fun.
You're no fun. Just enjoy the
Mr.
wall of Mario Duck Hunt, Brian. Just enjoy it.
You get all your kicks off of that.
I just get kicks off making you mad. Next up from Game Whisperer Dean. The new horror game made of Skur is coming out soon. Yep. Are you going to be picking this up? I ask because the game is based in Wales, UK, like me, and Skur House is 1 mile from my house.
When I saw this question, I looked it up, and the trailer looks amazing. It's like Amnesia meets Alien Isolation. in this really cool setting, the Skur House, as he's saying. I've read a little bit. It seems like it's about this local Welsh legend of these things called the the Quieters, or like I forget the name, but it's a legend of these like things. And like I said, it's that atypical. It looks like a survival horror. You got to cover your mouth when things walk by because they can't see you, but they can hear you. So the music used in the trailer was excellent, and it's funny because it's that same production company that did the thing with Gamer Girl. So as soon as I saw that symbol, I was like, oh, like I didn't know nothing about this company, and now I'm seeing game after game, I feel like, by them. So yeah, I think I would pick this up eventually.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it except for when he started posting about the actual Skur House. So, from what I hear, it looks cool, but I got to look into this.
Yeah, for sure. You still, I need to see you do a gameplay of Alien Isolation.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'll shit myself. Next up from G the Next Level. What are your favorite video game commercials ever? Cheers.
One of the ones that stuck with me because it made me appreciate a song even more was Gears of War, and they used Mad World in one of the best ways a licensed song was used for a video game. This was when that was a launch game for 360, and it was like, whoa, this game looks fucking nuts. And you see, what's his face, Marcus running through the streets, and he falls into the pit, and there's just all the monsters around him. And like to end with that Mad World, I love games that utilize music like that. So that always has stuck with me as a really cool trailer.
Yeah, you know which ones I really liked? I loved the commercials from the mid-90s when PlayStation was really starting to get going, and they would have the guy in the Crash Bandicoot suit outside of Nintendo's headquarters, and he would just be like trash-talking them through a megaphone.
Kind of like NWO or DX doing it to WCW.
Yeah, kind of. But he was just out there, like, I forget the specifics, but they were really funny and really well done. And it was just like, oh, here's a new player. So anyone who remembers those, like, that'll give you some flashbacks right there. But those were always great.
Yeah. Yeah, gaming commercials, when you get ones that really stick out, it's always really cool.
Yeah.
The Smash Brothers was always really funny, too.
So
that
happy
realistic,
together.
Me and you,
So
and you and me.
That's one of the best ones ever.
That one's pretty funny, too.
Oh, yeah. All right, next up from Eric Lewacki. Have either of you spent any significant time trying to speedrun a game?
No. I think, Eric, I know you were watching me during a bunch of the streams, and I was talking about that. And Jim and I actually just talked about that with 1cc runners and speedrunners in general. It's usually if I beat a game, even if I go back and play it, I'm not doing it to do it as fast as I can. To me, that defeats the purpose of the game. So I've never done it and most likely will never do it. But kudos to anyone that can set records with that shit.
Yeah, it's something I maybe at some point would have considered, but then I also see what real speedrunners do, and I'm like, nope. I'm not memorizing games this much. So, yeah, I've never legitimately tried to speedrun a game. I'll go with that way.
Yeah.
Next up from Gamer Astral. Thoughts on the new Pocket device by Analog?
Ooh, I just saw what you posted about it, and if that really is the price point, and we have the links below, my first thing is, so what I gathered from it, you tell me where I'm wrong. So it's like an emulator, but for, you can get these adapters for not only Game Boy games, but like the Neo Geo, what was the Game Gear, and
Neo Geo Pocket Color, Game Gear, Atari Lynx, and it comes with Game Boy Advance, ability to play.
So, and I saw the display. It's a very sleek looking little machine. That's really the only way I can describe it. I just go to, I guess that's one of the best looking Pocket designs I've seen for an emulator that is similar to like what a Retron 5 would do. But for that price point, like, I just, maybe I'm just so out of tune with the Pocket gaming world that I just don't see the value in that. If anybody else does, and that's your whole world, and you have all those collections, and you want to play it on one device, go right ahead. But I really feel like all those handhelds are cheap enough that you could get the system itself and a couple games for a very low amount of money. So I don't think it's going to be worth it, but who knows? We'll see how it does.
Yeah, there's billions of cheap emulator devices, handheld emulators. The difference is with this, it's FPGA, so it's a step above emulation. It's basically system on a chip technology. So I guess you could still technically consider it emulation, but it's pretty much just completely recreating mechanically the innards of an old system. So they always use really high quality parts for what they use. It's always really well put together. It's a reason why like the analog, like the NTs and the Super NESs and the Mega SDs, they only have certain number of print runs, and they never go down in value because they're that well made. But man, fuck me, $200 and then $100 for the dock, and then $30 a piece for all the expansion slots. That's too rich for my blood. Like, I was excited when they announced it because I was like, oh, this is a legitimate way to play all of these handheld devices on a console. And as if the price, or you get the dock and then you can play it on the TV, and then that makes for legitimate, really easy game capture and crap like that. And it's made for people who are just want to use their original carts and all that stuff, like any of the analog stuff is. So you have all that going for you, but that kind of price, man, like I like the Game Boy and all that stuff, but I've never been that big a portable guy, so I don't have enough use for it. Even to, have legitimate on the TV stuff, I have other ways to do it, so I think it's really expensive. And I think this is more niche than their normal, like, specific console-based ones.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you are just a diehard handheld fan and you don't have a way, like I think Retron 5, I was very easily able to do the Game Boy games on that. I don't know about those other systems. Like you said, I'm sure there are other emulators, but in all reality, if you're just worried about getting footage, you can just do on your computer emulators for those.
But, yeah, I mean, it's for the audience that wants, the legitimate experience, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
Yeah, to me, even if they're using the same chipset, then I would be a stickler for saying, like, oh, you're not using the original if you're using this thing. So that's where, nothing's ever good enough. But if people are going to get it, I would just say, do yourself a favor, wait a little bit. Like Jim said, maybe the price won't come down.
They don't come down.
That sucks then,
because they're that well made that they don't come down, and people never sell them for cheap on eBay. Like, they keep their value.
I wonder how many people just buy them for the fact that they know it's going to be so limited and it's a collector thing versus true people who want them. Like, you're going to get those dickhead, shithead scalpers who buy like as many as they can for resale.
There's always that, but I think the analog market is very, like, for the diehards, and it's always been. Like, I think it's almost...
I hope so.
It's almost too much of an investment for the scalpers. So, but I don't know. I could be wrong there.
I don't know, man. People scalp weird shit, so...
It's true. They scalp everything.
It does look really cool. I mean, it looks really cool. And it does look very well made. I would be very... It'd be cool to see one in person, let's put it that way.
Yeah, like, I'd love to have one. It's basically the all-in-one for all your portable consoles out there, but that price, it doesn't justify it for me.
Jim, you don't need that, because then all of a sudden you're going to start collecting for portables.
Yeah, last thing I need is more shit to collect for. Next up from Sandy N. What is your drink of choice besides beer?
Oh, whiskey for me, for sure. Well, more specifically, probably bourbon. Bourbon and whiskey they could be just as close as beer. Beer's just heavier for the sight. Another than that, like, I'll drink anything. Maybe I'll do a martini here and there, but I don't really drink a lot of other stuff outside of those things.
If we're not talking booze, like, I'm a soda fiend. Like, I'll take soda any day, even over beer and whiskey and wine and all that shit. Like, soda's my biggest weakness.
Yeah, if you're outside of booze, dude, I'm a straight, all I drink all day long and every day is water. Like, that's it. I do that and coffee. And coffee I have maybe 2 cups in the morning and a decaf in the afternoon. So I don't drink soda. Like the only, you know what it is? I'm one of those people that I have very specific. Like if I have soft pretzels, I need to have a Pepsi with it. If I have like a hoagie or certain foods, I'll need to have a certain like type of soda with it. Other than that, I don't drink soda at all. I don't really drink iced tea. I don't drink juice. Yeah, it's just water, coffee, and booze.
Yeah, diet sodas, water. I have my morning coffee, and then yeah.
You're not still doing energy drinks, are you?
No. No, I gave that up over a year ago. Couldn't take the heart palpitations anymore, Brian.
If I could give anyone out there, as someone who used to, especially before hockey games, I would go through a big Monster and 2 or 3 Red Bulls to get me through early hockey games. Dude, that shit has awful, long-lasting effects on you. And when you do too much of that, it will start to wear you down. Like, just do yourself a favor.
Don't
if you
start.
Enjoy them. If you enjoy them, make sure limit yourself to 1 per day. And I know a lot of people in industries like cooks and stuff. Like I've been
one a week. One a week.
Yeah.
Don't even do one a day.
They're
that
really
fucking
bad.
killed me.
They are just so bad for you. So that's, if I could give any words of wisdom as a site that, well, we don't promote drinking, but we do a lot of drinking of beers. Dude, I would say beer is safer for you than these energy drinks, depending on how much you have. But yeah, those things, whew, I haven't had one of them in many, many years now.
Yeah, we both had the heart flutters, Bri, and we're like, I guess we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I maxed myself out on that 22-hour straight drive from Miami to Philly, so.
Worth it. And finally from Alex Perez, which games have made you lose your shit the most? Either because the game is tough as hell, broken as hell, or even worse, due to continued user error.
Ooh.
I can go first if you need time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ghosts and Goblins. I can't fucking do it. Like, Ghouls and Ghosts I can put time into and I can get a little bit far into, but original Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, I just do not gel with that game at all. Like, I just die and I die and I die. And I know it's coming. I have it memorized and I still just fucking die by bullshit. I can't take that goddamn game. It just fucking kills me. It's too unfair. It's too hard. And I am not a 7-year-old in goddamn 1984. So, or 1988, whatever. You know what I mean.
I mean, on one hand, right now, because it's fresh, I'd say Frankenstein's Monster, because that thing is just stupid annoying because of terrible controls, and it's an Atari game, so what do you expect? But other than that, it's honestly, I get more mad playing multiplayer games when I have really stupid teammates. I'm fine if I'm doing a 1v1 and I'm getting fucked up, I'll get mad, but I'll ultimately not get that mad. But if I'm on like a team-based game and my teammates are doing jack shit to help me, it will make me beyond furious. Yeah, so really that's a very generic answer, but that's usually the only things that really like games like what Jim's saying. Ghosts and Goblins, I'll definitely get mad, but I've gone through. I've got it done. It's super hard, but I know it's possible to beat. Whereas like sometimes you get in these multiplayer games and you know it's an unbeatable situation. You know your teammates are just doing whatever, and it just is ultimately frustrating. So, good question, though. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, and that's it for this week. So great questions again. Thank you, everyone. And as always, if you would like to submit a question, head over to that Patreon link. Or buy a t-shirt. Anything helps.
Absolutely. All right, Jim. Sad news for you, especially.
Oh, yeah. So, our big beer topic this week. There's a shortage. There's a shortage of aluminum cans. And
what are you going to do for everything you drink, Jim?
I guess we're going to have to step my game up to Coors Light. So the long story short is this comes to us from Citizen's Voice, and there is a big aluminum can shortage because cans are being used like crazy because people aren't going anywhere. So people aren't going to bars as much. People aren't going on trips as much. Like, they might go secluded camping, and it's way easier to get rid of cans than it is bottles. So people have just been buying up cans left and right. and it's actually causing a shortage. So most major brewers are saving all of their cans and their aluminum for the highest selling ticket items. So my precious Keystone is actually taking a hit from this because, as we discussed many times before in its frivolous lawsuit orchestrated by Stone Brewing, it's not as big a seller as you would think it is. So it's not getting produced right now.
Oh, no.
My brother actually was like, so what about this can shortage? Because he heard about it. He went to his one favorite beer stop, and they had no Keystone left. And he went to the other beer store, and they had some, so he bought all 7 cases they had. He's like, just in case.
Is he really, there's no other shitty light beer he can possibly stand that Keystone has to be. He had to go to... The fact that he went to another beer store for Keystone.
Dollar value, Brian. Bang for your buck.
That seed is corrupt in your family, man. That is... What? Who does that? You don't go to a whole nother goddamn beer store for Keystone.
Look, Brian, they're collectible now. They might never come back.
Well, saw Keystone...
This goddamn fucking lawsuit goes through. They might never see them again. I gotta stock up.
Keystone, White Claw, all the things that...
White Claw's still around, but they're limiting their flavors. So, like...
Yeah, well, they're only going with the quote-unquote good ones.
Yeah, like the tangerines of the world and shit like that. Like, they're not wasting their time brewing them for their niche markets, so...
And as you and I said, I mean, this also, in theory... Well, not in theory. It will have an effect even further on the already craft beer industry, which... Nobody in craft beer that's small can do bottles. So if anyone is doing anything, they're doing cans, or they're doing crowler fill-ups or growler fill-ups. So yeah, now they're probably only going to save them for their best beers, which is like, that's a definition of business, right? Like, put your best product forward.
Yep.
Like maybe this actually cuts out some of the bullshit out there, like the Keystones of the world.
How dare you? That is an institution.
Jim, how about Keystone?
Is a treasure.
Keystone should just come the way we know it should, which is like boxed wine. Just sell boxes of Keystone.
Not a terrible idea. I'll go for that. just keep it fresh.
Keep
it fresh and bubbly.
The same thing that Heineken did. Like those like mini kegs they sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They still sell them.
Do they? I mean, I haven't seen them in a while.
When's the last time you looked for them, though?
Yeah, this is true. But yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because that's one of those weird effects that you don't think about. But I would hope that if anyone does go out and they are buying up all these cans, like, just recycle them or give them back. Like, I don't know what you're doing with them all, but that's a weird one. But nothing that I think is going to have that much of a long-term effect. Some people might actually have to pay $20 for Keystone now instead of $12.
Might be pricing himself out of the market there.
Jim, are you suggesting their quality is not worth it?
Look, Brian, it's never a quality issue here, all right?
I don't know. You seem to fight for them pretty hard, Jim.
I'm just saying, it's the best bang for your buck for a 30-pack for $16. I mean, come on now.
I still say Lion's Head is a better value.
Yeah.
That's if you're classy.
True. But yeah, so for you scumbags like me out there, it's rough times.
Oh, Jim. Speaking of tough times due to COVID, this is one you put up. Very interesting. But you wrote, how does CGR game survived? And for those of you who don't know, Jim, explain what CGR is.
CGR is just a small game store that's by my work. So, basically, this is just a little anecdotal thing. So, I finally, a couple weeks back, like when I found Beetle Adventure, I was like, well, let me see if this store is still around. Because there's a game store, a mom and pop down by me, which has been, like, it would close for like a month, and then it came back, and then COVID hit, and that just basically killed it off. It's been boarded up for months now. And there's been other small ones around me that have gone under even before COVID. So the mom and pop store, it's very niche and hard to keep it going. So I was like, well, let me pass by, see if this place is still there. And to my surprise, it was. And I was in there and I was like, so how did you guys make it through the corona? And he was like, we actually got really lucky. And right after the pandemic started, Animal Crossing came out like a few weeks later, and Animal Crossing sold all the copies. And one big thing in Animal Crossing is that it uses amiibos. And one big thing that no one ever gave a shit about before, even during the height of amiibo collecting, was amiibo cards, which have the same basic functionality. They're just, little trading cards, but no one cared about them because they're not figurines. So they had stockpiles of these things. And what wound up happening is Animal Crossing fanatics are crazy about it. And I guess amiibos unlock different shit for you. I don't know. I don't play it. But they actually they had like years and years of a stockpile of these cards they could never get rid of. And they sold $5,000 a month just in amiibo cards. And that's what kept them going throughout the entire thing. So, yeah, I guess, they had a saving grace coming from the most random of places. But that's how this store survived, being shut down for 2 to 3 months.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I like hearing stories of more of those mom and pops because that is shitty. Although it is funny because as soon as you type that in, and I couldn't remember the name, I decided, let me look on their site. God damn, I still gotta say, that's one of the most painful things. You love to support local, you love going to mom and pop, but if you go to a mom and pop, your hope is, I'm gonna get maybe a slightly better price in eBay and not have to pay shipping at the end of the day. Like, that's really the best you can hope for. And this shop Jim and I used to go to, unfortunately moved locations or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was ideal because you could negotiate with that guy. If you're buying multiple things, like he would negotiate with you on everything and you got legit deals. I have yet to find another legit store. And I started looking into this one for you, Jim. And I saw right off the bat, like on the front page, they're like, oh, PlayStation Classic for $100. I'm like,
oh yeah,
they're at Walmart for $70. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, this place you have to basically this falls into what I talked about with a lot of other mom and pops where you basically have to catch them slipping, where they have a game that's just been on their shelf that isn't like one of the big name games, and you can get it for under eBay prices because they just don't care enough to update the price on it. Like if you bring in a Zelda, Mario, Kirby, blah blah blah, stuff like that, they're going to charge you double to triple what it goes for even on eBay. But the selling point for them to have it there is the convenience factor. So, you can it's for the impulse buys of the world. But yeah, you have to go for those more random titles to get any kind of deal, which sometimes can happen, but you got to put a lot of work in and a lot of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, and that fucking amiibo cards, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean they must have had boxes of these things. And you Animal Crossing people out there, you saved a store. Congratulations.
I did not think I knew Animal Crossing was big, but I didn't think the aftermarket purchasing of cards to support that game was that big. So
yeah, that came as a shock. So that's why I was like, all right, here's the topic.
That's fucking nuts. So, no, it's a cool story. All right, and we are back.
Before we move on, Beers Brian? Well, you already talked about your Stevie.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, even when I finish the can and I'm moving on, well, I'm not moving on. I'm having another can because I just have it here. It would be fine for a first-time IPA person to know what an IPA tastes like, but for someone like me, it's just, there's really nothing special, and I won't get it again. But, it's something all right.
And yeah, for my Vice Passion Cactus Dragon Fruit, this was fucking good. Like, so it hits you first off, you get that sour taste, and then as it's sitting in your mouth, it almost gives you like an orange juicy kind of feel. Like just all the citrus mixes together that well in like a really familiar way. It's probably just all the dragon fruit coming through. And then on the way down, you get more of the sourness again. But oh my god, if you're a fan of sours and slightly lighter beer in general, it's 5%, but this was fantastic. This tasted fucking great. This is one I want to keep an eye on
Berliner
again.
Weisses are always a good option. They're not the most sour of the sours, but they usually have the higher flavor profiles. So.
Oh yeah, flavor for days, and it had a nice citrus smell to it too. So all around, very very solid, very good beer.
Nice.
And
I don't think I've ever seen that brewery though in stores near us, so you probably have to get direct from them.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Wild Barrel before either. So
yeah.
And I am rounding out the night with from the Los Angeles Ale Works, the Salt Bay Sea Salt and Lime Pilsner.
Oof.
So this is sea salt, lime, Hallerreuter and Saz. You probably know what those are better than I am.
I know Saz. I mean, I'd have to see what Hallerreuter is.
Or Hallertau. Hallertauer. Hallertauer. Whatever the fuck that is. The sun is out, the water's warm, and a cold beer is calling your name. Can you hear it? Bay, Salt Bay. Pinch those fingers, sprinkle that NaCl, and beat that thirst into submission, yo.
All right, this sounds like someone that our buddy Chris out in Seattle would be friends with. And this, I'm annoyed by just the description. And sea salt and lime, and you said it's a lager?
Pilsner.
Yeah, so it's a lager. Ugh. That does not sound... So
well,
you got
it
really
looks like a cloudier... Looks like a cloudier, what do you call it?
It can be an unfiltered Pilsner, but at the end of the day, you're supposed to be like a very clean, piney finish with a Pilsner, and now you're throwing in there sea salt and lime? That is just... Okay, maybe it's good.
No aroma. No aroma to speak of.
Probably not. Oh, Jim, this reminded me. So I got a question when I was streaming, and I wanted to ask you.
Now, that is an interesting flavor.
Not the greatest, right, Jim?
Ooh. When it first hits, you get like a little bit of the lime, and you're like, okay. Well, at first it's like a Coors, or like an MGD, and then it starts to dissipate a bit into the lime. You're like, okay, it's like a Bud Light lime. Then the salt kicks in. My God.
Yeah.
And that just sits on the tongue.
So you just reminded me with this beer. Someone had asked me, I think it was Eric Galacki actually during one of my streams, what was one of the worst beers I've ever had? And my mind always goes back to the Rise. That goddamn Old Bay flavored IPA.
Oh,
you remember that?
Yeah, that one was, that was bad. That was not good.
If you watch a stream, I'm sorry you're hearing this again.
That was Flying Dog, right?
It was Flying Dog. It has crabs on the front. Because the whole kick was it was supposed to be like, I don't know if they actually used Old Bay seasoning, but it tastes like they did. It tastes like a bunch of salt and seasonings dumped into a basic ass IPA. And Jim and I, after a night of, we were playing that Bart's Nightmare stage on that. I remember doing that and drinking some other stuff. It was just pure salt and tarty, like hoppiness. It was disgusting. I'm shocked as many people seem to like it as they do, but it's usually everyone from like Maryland who's all about crabs. And like it just, to me, it still goes down as one of the worst tasting beers. Like I've had bad beers that don't have a lot of flavor or just taste like water, but that one, man, that flavor was just like fucking yuck. That, and I talked about your little throw-up experience with the Ghostface Killer.
I was going to say Ghostface Killer.
Here's the deal. That beer, actually, I didn't mind the taste, but it was so goddamn hot, and you puked from it after like 3 sips.
And we had a couple Stellas before it, and that was not a good combination. That did not sit well in the tum-tum.
Well, I just remember that night we were going through a lot of bad fighting games, and we were doing Pit Fighter on the Super NES, which was the worst fighter that we've played.
Worst version of it, too.
And I remember pouring you out that little bit in that little cup, and I just remember you sitting there, like, sipping it, and you're like, oh, God. Oh. And then you just run into the bathroom and puke. I was just like, oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that was, what did I pay for that? $10 for that bottle?
Something like that.
It was like $5 or $10. I remember I thought it was a lot at the time.
Little did we know.
It was such a novelty bottle because, like, at the beer store that we always used to go to, we were still kind of new to, like, crazy beers. And I see this one called Ghostface Killer. It's made with ghost peppers. It's labeled as the spiciest beer. So I was like, well, naturally, I have to get it. But literally nobody touched so many of them. There was some dust on the bottle. And I remember thinking, like, oh, man, I guess everyone's scared of some spice. There's a goddamn reason. I don't even know if it's still made today. But if you ever want to try a weird experience or have your friend have a real loser brew, make him drink that if he can.
Yeah, that was a whoo mama right there. And I've never seen it since, so I don't think it caught on.
No. But if we can find it, we have to bring it back, Jim.
Yeah, that does make for a good loser brew. I will give it that.
Jim, I'm going to mix that with the Rise for a loser brew.
Oh, God. Fucking Christ. All right. Well, speaking of Christ, Brian, we get to do one of our favorite things we get to do on this podcast.
Be topical?
Oh, not only do we get to be topical, but we get to shit on gamers.
Well, we don't have to, since
It's gonna happen. I'm
hey,
gonna do it.
well, here's the deal. So many of you have probably seen, and this particular article is from Direct
Dexerto?
Dexerto. It doesn't matter where the link is from. I'm sure if
you've
you're on
seen the
Twitter,
clip.
you've seen it. Joe Rogan basically in his podcast just made the statement that, playing too many games can be a waste of time. It's the problem with video games is they're fun and you can spend 8 hours a day doing it. And then 5 years later, you can still be that person doing that. And ultimately, it's a waste of time. You're not doing anything with it, yada, yada, yada. And then he closes it off, which a lot of people seem to cut off, is he's like, yeah, there are some people that have made a shit ton of money at it, and they're clearly the exception. Naturally, if you say anything bad about gamers, you get the full shitstorm of everyone like, well, if you're watching sports, if you're watching TV, if you're watching...
Listening to a 3-hour podcast is a waste of time. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Scathing.
Here's the deal. On both sides, it's the most obvious statement you can make. Like Joe Rogan, I am a huge, huge fan of Joe Rogan. I don't know if I've really expressed that. Jim knows that from me personally.
Yep.
But I've listened to him, and he has some of the most interesting guests on. Whether you like him or not is irrelevant. But if you hear him talk, he goes off on tangents, and he was a hardcore gamer. He loved Quake. He was trying to avoid getting into the new Quake and Doom, because he basically said, he's like, dude, when I got into Quake, he's like, I went all out and I got super obsessive, playing 40 some hours a week. He's like, I know my personality, and if I sit down and find a new game I like, I'm never going to put it down. So he knows that mentality. And here's the deal. He's not wrong, but it's a very obvious thing. It's just like saying, if you drink too much, that could be a bad thing. If you do anything too much, yes, obviously it's a bad thing. And any gamer that's talking back or making comments oh, but if you do this, it's useless. It's a very circular argument. I think you should be real with yourself that any hobby that does not directly turn into some kind of profit for you or some kind of personal gain, if it is strictly a form of fun and entertainment, if done in excess, it is a waste of time. It's not saying that it's fine to have an outlet to have fun with, but if you're missing shit with your family, if you're fucking up your work, if you're fucking up your schoolwork to do whatever your hobby is, regardless of if it's gaming or not, then yeah, that's a really bad thing and you shouldn't be doing that. But if somehow you're turning playing gaming into making money, then go for it. But man, gamers, you just gotta chill with some of the comments. And I know a lot of it is just the typical Twitter. You want to be the one that shows the big reaction. And like we've said about Gamer Girl and everything else, the amount of people already responding to Joe and making videos a day later, I'm like, that's a bad look too. I'm like, dude, you guys got to chill.
I mean, no, the reaction channels and having their video a day later, that's their thing. Fine, whatever. Or your commentary stuff. Just a fucking, for the love of God, people, for one, the clip that's gone around was clipped. There was, another 2 to 3 minutes of them talking. And it isn't just, him going into, you could spend that same time doing jujitsu and then you could, learn a school and shit like that. Yeah, you could, but you could also suck at jujitsu after 3 years, too. Well, that aside, and that's the thing everyone's like, oh, he's just doing his MMA bro shit. One, shut up. And two, yes, it's still the same argument, and it's Joe Rogan. He's not a fucking intellectual. He's a stoner who babbles. Just because he's popular doesn't mean you have to take him that goddamn seriously, for one. Two, every person out there who is oh, he's lumping all gamers together, or he should have... because everyone would debunk it and be like, well, he's a hardcore gamer. He was addicted to Quake 3. He worked with Logitech, I think, to, work on a mouse back when one of the Quakes was being developed to make it, better for Quake. Shit like that. So, he's coming from the point of him being an addict, like you said. So everyone's like, oh, well, then he should have said, to me, this is what it's like. It's motherfucker, of course it's to him. It's his goddamn opinion.
Yeah, and he's talking for 3 hours at a time. You think he's really being that critical of his words throughout that entire time?
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here to defend Joe Rogan. I like it when he has stand-up comedians on and they talk shop for 2 hours, but when he has randos on, it's very hit or miss, and some are extremely painful to sit through. But like in this effect, it's like if you're like getting legitimately super butthurt and angry about it, it's like anything else. You're proving its fucking point. Like if you feel like you have to vehemently defend your hobby, like if you just go, yeah, I know it can be dumb, but I like it. Like just brush it the fuck off. Like if you're putting your entire personality behind your gaming, then you're the problem. You're what he's talking about.
Yeah, and I just can't emphasize enough. It is fine. Jim and I, gaming is our probably it is our favorite escapist. Fun,
it's half our website.
Yeah,
it's more than half our website.
It is our hobby. Like I don't watch TV. Like I'll watch a movie. I'll watch this. I don't just sit and binge TV. And when I watch a movie, honestly, I'm usually doing something. Like I can't just sit and watch TV anymore. When I was younger, maybe I could. If I'm going to have free time, if I'm not with the wife, if I'm not with the kids, if I'm not doing, like, I'll want to go play a video game. That is my fun getaway hobby. But if I were doing that when I'm supposed to be doing other things, that is when it's a problem. And that's more what he's referring to. Like, if you're someone, you got a job, you got your life together, and you just enjoy playing games, that's cool. But if you're 24, 25, you don't got a job, you're living at home, you don't have any prospects, and all you're doing is playing games, that's not good. Unless, once again, you're really trying and putting in the right effort to become something, and even then you know that the percentage of streamers, of YouTubers, of whoever that make any kind of money that's even livable is minuscule. So it's not saying it can't be done, because there's plenty of examples of millionaires who do that shit, but don't think you're going to become that person. And it's like, yeah, the attack on him, it's just really goofy. And it's like you said, don't take anything any celebrity of any stature takes that seriously. Like, I just don't get it.
Rogan's a lightning rod anyway, but everyone forgets in like a week and stops caring because they're like, that whatever. But like,
but that's what's so stupid for him to even be considered. Like, to me, a lightning rod would be people who have scripted late night or major news media, like. They're the ones who script all the shit. They vetted it. He has multiple, every day, 2 to 3 guests at 3-hour chunks at a time. And he's talking all day long. And it's a very stream of conscious. Like he has, I'm sure, internal notes of people he's talking to. But he's just letting it go. And he releases a podcast almost every goddamn day. And it's like, he's not he didn't plan to say that. It's probably something that just came in his mind. He said it. And it's gone. Like, he didn't think anything more about it. So it's just really stupid that people get that upset about it.
Yeah, can we also, this might be somewhat controversial, can we stop with the, you should, if you want to be a pro gamer, like, you should like, everyone should encourage you to, like, follow your dream and shit like that? Like, to me, it comes down, like, that's definitely the new, I'm going to go to Hollywood and be a star mindset, and then you work at a diner the rest of your life. Like, can we please just, like, I guess it's the evolution of that, or, like, trying to be a rock star when, I guess the 80s and 70s was the height of that. Like, can we just, I guess there's always going to be that dream out there, or that thing that's popular. Like, in this day and age, is being an influencer, or being a TikToker, or being a famous streamer, or YouTuber, or, like, esports person. So.
And that's the thing, like, yeah, that's a perfect example. I mean, fuck, Jim.
Like that's what,
a stadium in Philly for esports. So kids see that, and they say, I can legit have a career doing that. And, you know, Joe Rogan is funny because a podcast or two before, probably a person or two before he talked to that guy, you know, he's talking about the concerns as a parent of kids with technology. And one of his things he was talking about, he's like, you know, my daughter's, whatever his daughter's age is like 11 or something. He's like, and she put together this movie on her iPad that I didn't even know she knew how to do in this technology. He's like, and it freaked me out. He's like, I didn't know. And she's like loading stuff up on YouTube. He's like, I didn't know she was doing that. And so when he's talking about things, he's now also talking from the perspective of a parent. And he's worried about, like, he doesn't want his kids to be the type that are sitting there playing games all day or just on the computer all day or doing this and chasing those frivolous dreams. Like, it's fine. Like you just said, I don't encourage anyone to encourage their kids to, oh, you want to be a gamer? You know what? Just do that. Like, Jim and I said this many times. have a legitimate career, whatever it is. If you are lucky enough to make money doing something else, and you're making, if you're making PewDiePie money, different story.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
But that is such a, lightning in a bottle situation. And like some of these streamers, hard work and perseverance can get you somewhere there. But, if you're someone who's in the mid, like I have 100K followers on YouTube or subscribers on YouTube, and I'm making a pretty okay money, and I'm going to forgo going to anything. And then 10 years later, your numbers go in half and you're getting fucked. And like, that's going to be a really bad situation for you. And I don't want to see that for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's still all so new, so who knows? It could be a bubble. It could not be. Maybe streamers and shit like this could still be around. I don't know.
Oh,
but to me,
I think they will be.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's probably the way entertainment's going. But have some kind of skill on the end. Don't just throw it all into one basket. I guess that's what we always like to try and say.
Yeah, but no, I mean, just anyone out there. I don't care if it's Joe. I mean, Joe Rogan's an easier target too because he is the biggest form of a interviewer, media source out there. Like there's no local DJs, radio hosts that can compare. There's no news anchors. Like it's just a different platform. And now that he's transcending that, people feel attacked as gamers, and it's like, don't feel like such a victim all the time. Just let some shit slide off you.
Well, it's almost like with Gamer Girl when it was like, oh, now it's a problem because it's talking about your thing.
Yeah. I still love that. I haven't seen. By the way, can I just say that for Gamer Girl, when I upload the video, right away, like I saw suggested videos, and at least 10 of them were all the same. Somebody looking at the thing of Gamer Girl and making a cringy like
YouTuber face.
Oh my god, face. The YouTuber face. I hate that YouTuber face. That shit. Oh man, I hate it so much.
That's what you got to do, Bri. Gotta sell your soul.
You don't got to, Jim. You don't got to.
Well, if you want to make some if you want to get a little,
and this is what we're talking
traction.
about. Don't be part of the crowd, Jim. I know that's always been your MO. Oh, you want to smoke? I don't like smoke, but I'll smoke.
Yes, that has given me all the popularity that I've enjoyed throughout my life.
You've tried, Jim. You've tried. Oh, you put that up your butt? Okay, I'll do that.
Hey, I did that for me.
So Jim, I threw up here one of our recurring bits, and it's something, I still love this bit, and I do have a whole bunch of songs. I still want you guys to send it in.
You found this off Reddit, right?
No, it wasn't Reddit. It was. It definitely wasn't Reddit. It was something else. Like I found this whole list of songs that sound like other songs, but then I found this really awesome video, and I linked it last time. But I'll next week I'll be linking it. But either way, what we're talking about is either video game music that's inspired by real life music, or the opposite, where a song is inspired by video game music. And this week, as is the most common trend, we have a video game that seems to be pretty decently inspired by a song. The game is Resident Evil. The song is Still Dawn. So for those of you who don't know the songs by name, just like me probably, at the end of Resident Evil, you have that really, I'll call it like pretty song. And if you listen to it, especially like the halfway point, it really gets into like a kind of funky guitar, and it's a really cool sounding track. And if you've ever heard the song Layla, I don't know why I say that. Layla. Yeah. That song is a 7-minute song. So you have to go to about the 5-minute mark, I believe.
Yeah, for the outro.
It's like the outro of the song. To me, it's a very clear, like there's some melodies there, and especially some guitar licks that sound very similar. It's not 100% identical, but I could clearly see a connection here between the two songs. I mean, Jim, you obviously, I know you love Layla, and you're more the music guy, but to me, it's a pretty open and shut case. This is inspired by it.
See, this one I think has been the biggest stretch yet that we've had. but there are definitely, I think there's like one or two bars of the guitar like arrangement that I'm like, okay, that's where they took the riff a little bit from Layla from that end part. So I can hear it, but it's not like you'll hear it like for, like I said, one or two bars, and it goes back into its like really like it's like poppy, upbeat, like double time stuff. First off, I never like somehow for all the times I've beaten Resident Evil 1, I never really sat down and like realized just how good and corny a song this is. Still Dawn. Like it's so fucking good. But like I was just like, especially after like the 30-second mark when it like really starts to kick in. But yeah,
well, I think what happens, Jim,
it's the end credit song. So like I'm not sitting around through this.
Well, there's that,
once.
but it's also like once you get into well-composed CD songs, you turn it off. If it doesn't sound like shitty Genesis music, you're not going to listen.
No, how dare you? One, how dare you, sir? And two, it's end credit music. I'm not sitting through the credits if I don't have to. So.
Have you sat through end credits of Streets of Rage 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you sit through end credits.
Well, if you give me little pictures every couple of seconds, then I'll sit through it longer.
The helicopter's going off in the sunset, Jim. What more do you need?
Yeah, it's just a helicopter. That's I need a little more than just a helicopter.
Wah!
Goddamn right, man. But yeah, no, like I had to really like sit and listen to it like 2 or 3 times before I'm like, all right, here's the part that sounds like the end of Layla. Here's the part that sounds like the end of Layla. So it's not like I want to call it an open and shut case like you did, but I can see where they're probably like, oh, this part will go good right here. Like, yeah, I'm not able to say the actual musical term for it right now because I don't know it. But me being the dumb drummer that I am. But
Jim,
yeah,
you're supposed to be the music guy.
I'm the music guy, but you know, when you're more self-taught and you quit piano because you wanted to hit drums, then that takes away from some of the terminology that I could be pulling out of my ass right now.
No, you're not wrong. Other ones we've had have been way clearer. I'm saying it to me. Those licks and that melody just sound. It's eerily close. It's not the whole song. That's what I'm saying. Like Layla's a 7-minute song.
Yeah.
So it's literally a 2-minute segment of that. And then even this Still Dawn, I think, was 3 minutes. It's only until like 2 minutes in you really get to the part that we're talking. So it's not the entire song.
Yeah, and especially you'll really hear it around like the 1:45 mark where everything else cuts off and it's just the guitar for like a little interlude. Then you can really tell there before it goes back into the full on music that they have composed. But yeah, no, this is definitely the kind of song where like I see the inspiration and the use of that lick. It's like for me as a drummer where I could be playing a completely different song, but I could use a fill from a well-known song and just throw it in there because it fits. I think that's pretty much what's going on here. So it's not like I don't think the track's inspired by the end of Layla, but I think the guy's definitely like, oh, I always stick around this lick. Let me just throw it in there. That kind of deal.
Yeah. So I had this one saved for last week, and last week was really way more of a slam dunk, and it was one of the ones that I've. Well, I should say 2 weeks ago, I think. The video I saw that really compared ones that are almost identical, I was like, let me spread it out. So I just left the Resident Evil for today. It's debatable, but let us know what you think below. And especially when this is an individual clip, you'll have heard on both back to back. If you're just listening from iTunes or whatever, you just got to go in, click the links, and listen for yourself.
Yep, and let us know below.
All right, Jim. This one. Interesting one. I hope you have the right answer, because there is a right answer.
Oh, there is a right answer.
Sir,
please.
Going.
Sir.
There's definitely a right answer. So Jim threw in as a which is better.
Switching it up a bit. Switching it up.
Sometimes we veer off of beer and video games, and it's fine. But this is just all nostalgia right here. So from when we were kids, which was better? Fox Kids shows or Disney afternoon shows? The only right answer is Fox Kids.
Obviously.
And I can appreciate Disney afternoon. They had some hitters. None that I actually care about. And I get that other people really like them. But to me, and it's probably because I grew up at that ripe age when the Fox Kids, I mean, you got X-Men, Power Rangers, Spider-Man. The list is
Batman the Animated Series, even or the comedy shows like The Tick and Eek the Cat.
There's I looked at the lineup.
Tasmania.
And all you have to do
Bobby's
is type
World.
in Fox Kids shows, go to Google Images, and or like go to like what it shows you right off the bat, and then do it to Disney. Not saying the Disney ones are bad, but to me they just don't hold a candle. Like the nostalgia of the 90s, I don't think at all about Disney afternoons. I wasn't a Disney kid growing up. So I actually have a lot of people I work with now that go to like Disney like religiously every year. Like that's their vacation spot. They love the movies. They love whatever. That's all good. Weird. That was not me, and nobody else I knew growing up was like that. So I don't know, man. I would be shocked if anyone really truly picks Disney afternoons, but maybe we just weren't young enough back then.
Yeah, I mean, they had their shows. They had their Darkwing Ducks, which is good. They had Gargoyles. I forget if that was Disney Afternoons or if that just got bought by Disney eventually. I want to say that was like a WB show, like a 17 show.
They had the Quack Pack, the Mighty Ducks. They had.
You're gonna tell me Recess is better than fucking than Power Rangers? Come on now.
Now, here's all right. So
I put this one more in for the Peanut Gallery because I knew where me and you were gonna be on this one.
So let me just for those of you if you're the uninformed, let me just read off the top 10 that are listed here for Fox Kids. You got Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, X-Men, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Bobby's World, Spider-Man, Eek the Cat, Beetlejuice, Batman the Animated Series, and Tasmania. Like, if that's not a goddamn lineup,
delicious.
And then as they have in their deep cuts, you have The Tick, you have Goosebumps, which I love that series as a kid. Where on the Earth is Carmen Sandiego? I mean, I'm just looking at some of these, and this is straight up just my childhood summed up. So, yeah, I would love anyone to debate this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you have X-Men and X-Men and Batman, you win right away. It's no contest. So I want all you Disney sycophants out there to try and tell us why Disney Afternoons is better. You'll fail, but you can try.
But Jim, I got nothing. I can't even do devil's advocate on this one.
Yeah, bro. I wanted to test the devil's advocate on this shit.
I looked at it. I was like, maybe I'll go devil's advocate because I knew it was going to be such an obvious answer.
Goof Troop.
And I looked at the lineup and I'm like, I can't even do devil's advocate on this.
But Bride, they had Doug as an older teenager. Didn't you love it when Doug came back? Doug.
Yes, Jim. So, Jim, the real question is...
Go on.
All the fans want to know, are you definitely going to be allowed to stream at some point in the future with me?
No, I'll be able to stream. I just need to get the setup and all that shit.
No, not you stream. I'm saying, like, play with me.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sure I could. No, I can do it. I can do it.
We know you need the permission. It's okay.
No, I can do it. It's just fucking... God, that Midnight Night was a killer.
Wham!
Oh, you haven't gone into your goddamn office in 6 months. Don't you wham me.
Jim, you have half the workload once you get home, as I do. And I still manage to do it.
You don't do shit. You do lunchtime streams. You have the time for that shit.
Here's the difference. I make sure I don't have to do it all. You get that lint clean, Jim?
What? No, Brian's referring to me doing the laundry. I was cleaning the lint trap in the dryer right before it started. And I do the laundry because my wife is not very good about putting the laundry away. She would live out of a garbage bag if she could with full clean clothes. So I had to take it upon myself to do that. She does all the other cleaning around the house. I do like two things. I do the laundry and I do like the quote-unquote yard work. I pick the weeds. Everything else she does.
Oh, so then Jim just admitted he doesn't do shit all day. So there you go. I just won that argument.
I was talking about in the context
I won.
The actual workday, Brian, where I am busy the entire day with my actual job. I'm like you. Where you have time to stream and go do yard work and shit like that.
You say, are you guys still looking at the computer? It's good? Good. All right, I need to walk outside to go to the bathroom.
Look, Brian, I'm essential, all right?
All right, Jim. So before we go, our last topic, which is a recurring bit. This is a quicker one, I think, depending on how you answer.
Well, you're just dropping this on me, so we'll see.
So for overrated, underrated gaming magazines, I was actually inspired as right before we were about to end, I was changing my camera battery, and I look over and I have the biggest goddamn stack of Game Informers that I haven't looked at ever in years. Like, I used to get them, read them, whatever. But we know there's been, like, Nintendo Power's really popular. Like, I think Nintendo Power and Game Informer is always the top two most popular for me personally. And, yeah, I mean, at this day and age, taking into full context, do you think they're overrated or underrated? So I want to get your take first.
I mean, if we're talking about today, overrated, underrated almost doesn't apply. They're just unnecessary. But I still have my GameStop fucking membership, and they're like, oh, do you want Game Informer shipped to your house or online? I'm just like, just give me the email version. I'm not going to read it anyway. So, I mean,
so that's where I thought maybe I thought yes,
I used to read
they
them.
are unnecessary for sure. But the collector in you, like, I know you love collecting, and even for someone like me, I look at this pile and I'm like, I just don't want to keep it anymore. Like, it is so unnecessary. But I know a lot of people, like, they grow up with Nintendo Power is usually the most reference. Like, it was highly necessary back in the day because NES games were really just a means of selling that magazine because you couldn't finish a game without knowing how to do a lot of shit in a lot of the games. So they were absolutely necessary in the past. Now they're completely
unnecessary.
Not necessary.
But
is there something to be said? It's the same as saying, like, do you like collecting books physically or do you want them on your Kindle or iPad?
No, all right, I have an answer. I'm going to go with underrated. And I'm going to go with underrated based on our buddy Castle Zotz. Because one of my favorite things that he does is people will talk about a game and say it's a hidden gem or say it's a game that got, like, no promotion. And he'll be like, no promotion? Motherfucker, that was the cover of Nintendo Power this one month. And he'll, like, immediately, like, be able to, like, spout off the top of his head. So, like, the magazines are really... I'll say they're underrated because they're such a good time capsule. They're one of those things you can go back and see exactly what people were talking about back in the day, or what games truly were hidden gems, or just ones that, like, people like to say in this day and age that, oh, no one knew about this when it got, like, 9s across the board and was, like, critically acclaimed and shit like that. So, yeah, I'll say underrated just for, like, their historical context. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, like, my parents weren't going to spend money on me having a magazine subscription, but my best friend had EGM, and I would love going over to his house and reading his EGMs. And hell, even before I lived in even when I lived in my apartment for a bit, like, Game Informer was great poop reading. So, especially for me, like, a guy who spends a good chunk of time on the toilet.
You spend way too much time in the bathroom in general.
It was a perfect companion. So, yeah, I'll say underrated, especially for the historical context of them. Even though, like, Nintendo Power really is, like, the only one that anyone cares about collecting.
Yeah, and that's... So, the other thing that really sparked me from not only seeing my pile, but do you ever go on Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah.
So, I just randomly go on there sometimes. I mean, for any random shit. Video games, whatever. This dude had the balls, and I don't even know how many copies it was. Let's say it was a stack of 50 Game Informers. And this motherfucker was trying to sell them for like $80. Like, some ridiculous price for something that nobody fucking cares about or wants. And it's not like he had them sleeved or anything.
It's actually not a terrible price, but it's also like a thing no one wants.
But that's my point. It is a terrible price because $80 for 50 copies of a magazine that nobody cares about, and once again, they weren't
$5 a copy, right? Come on, you can't beat that.
But they're not even preserved properly. It's like literally like they were just sitting in his room.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
No,
like,
that is pretty egregious. Because I mean, like, even for a collector like me, I threw all mine the fuck out. I didn't give a shit.
Well, and I'm getting to that point. Like, I have on a spot where they don't bother me that much. But one day it just will be. Like you said, could they be a good time capsule?
Sure.
Yes. But on the same page, it's kind of like collecting old newspapers. You know that shit gets archived, and especially nowadays, digitized. You can find a digital copy of these magazines if you really care that much. If you just happen to have them physically in hand, it's literally like anything you have physically in hand. I don't think you get any enhancement from having them. But yeah, I figured you as a collector may be skewed more towards thinking they were underrated. But that's at least an interesting way that you're putting it, as a time capsule.
It's actually funny because when you talk about that, I was going through some old boxes and throwing shit out the other day, and I remember I held on to fucking... You know what? I never held on to gaming magazines or shit that I did have. I held on to WWF magazines forever. And I finally threw them out like about maybe... the bulk of them maybe like 6 years ago or something like that. But I think I still have like one or two randomly like lying around for whatever reason. And I was like, man, like you want to talk about a time capsule. One, holy shit. And two... It's like, I was holding on to a magazine for fake storylines for play fighting thing, but...
Yeah, that's...
I really needed those Vic Venom editorials before he took over creative.
But collecting is in your blood, Jim, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but even I have my limits. I was just like, oh, God, why? Oh. I was like, why do I still have this? And even that, I'm like, all right, I can part ways with this.
Dude, I still have... It's funny because as I've been cleaning out stuff in my house, I still have a box of like VHS tapes. And as a kid, I religiously taped every Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view that I was allowed to rent.
Yep.
I still have a lot of them, but I definitely, like, a lot of them, like, you know, I would get retaped over with whatever. But, the like specialty ones you bought and the one WrestleMania that you always talk about that got you hooked on wrestling, WrestleMania 12, I still have that. I still have Best of Raw Volume 1 from the Attitude Era. Like, I still have ones that, like, no matter what, for whatever reason, I'm never going to throw them out. Like, I have some horror VHSs, and I still do have a working VHS player, but it's not like I use it.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's strictly there. I don't even know what the true value is, but it was something that meant something to me as a kid, so I'm keeping it around.
Yeah, like I have a few VHSs still, and it's all like official release ones, like not like the boxes and boxes of like the CDR version of like VHS tapes, just blanks that you just throw whatever on there. Like, oh my god, when my parents die, I have to throw out so many goddamn VHS tapes, but. And like, I mean,
are they tapers?
What's that?
Were they tapers of stuff?
Oh, dude, they taped fucking everything. Well, we had every season of The Simpsons taped for a good 10 years. Like, every time a new episode would come on and shit like that. Like, we had that shit taped. They would tape random... I mean, we also grew up with the, We grew up with a hot box, so legal cable for the one box.
So you had everything. Yeah.
So if there's a movie they wanted
wasn't
to
enough
keep,
that you were just stealing cable, but you wanted to keep the stolen stuff.
and we never watched most of it, like the kid movies I wore out. But besides that, like there's fucking random ass movies that are just like, why do you have this still? Like, get rid of this shit. And even like your wrestling tapes, like that doesn't matter anymore because the network has fucking everything.
I know, yeah, but it's funny because you talked about the time capsule thing, and for my kids, I set up the old VHS player down in our playroom with our old CRT, my old CRT, the last one I had that could even get like S-video, so that's like the oldest TV in my house.
Yeah.
And I set the VHS up with that, and I had the old Disney legit boxed like movies like Aladdin and all those. So I put them on, and it's funny seeing those early commercials.
Oh yeah.
Even hearing the music took me back. So when you just said you had like the old Simpsons, I would love for you to actually take some time, and I know it would be a bitch, but like literally just digital copy that, because I want to see, like, I love going back and seeing old commercials from the 90s.
Here's the thing.
80s.
That's going to be hit or miss because we were also nuts about like stopping it when the commercial started and hitting record when it came back on. Yeah, so that would be.
You mean the earliest forms of editing?
Yes.
Dude, I still have. Well, actually, I don't have, but I remember for sure when you would buy the blank tapes, you get Skinemax, you get Showtime.
Yeah.
And I was a master editor back then. Let's put it that way.
Prism, the old school Prism.
Oh, just, I mean, I had that shit.
Or when Encore was on free cable until like
Yep.
2003. And then like you stay up until like 2 a.m. It's like, this movie's got boobies.
Yeah, I would be like, record the whole movie, rewind at certain parts, record over it, and rinse and repeat.
You know what you are? You're Seth Rogen in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. You had boner jams. That's what you had.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God. You could literally be like, it would be a compilation. It would be similar to seeing a compilation video nowadays.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, I guess editing was always in my blood. That was something I just inherently did. Even as a kid, I remember, like, if I liked things, like I was obsessed with weapons, cars, and guns, gluing together pictures of all the things I like combining them together. Just editing shit was always with me. So I guess that stuck with me.
Sure did.
Just like collecting is with yours.
Yep, very true. And actually, my skill in editing is still the same as hitting stop, hitting start. So there we go. It's still
This is true, Jim.
every once in a while I can do a fade transition. Well, look at me.
So we veered way off, but if you guys, if you have anything you ever want us to debate or talk about for overrated, underrated, or which is better, whatever the case, make sure comment below on YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of the other platforms, if you're able to comment, great. If not, come over to our YouTube. Why not subscribe? Comment on our videos. And Jim, what'd you think of that second beer? That terrible sea salt and lime beer?
Yeah, it is not a recommendation, but it did get easier to drink as I went on. So, like, the biggest shock to the system is that saltiness at first. So, the first third of the can in this, they're all pounders. So the first third of this can, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, it wasn't a how am I going to get through it, but it was like, this won't be pleasant.
This is terrible.
Yeah, but by the end, I was like, okay. Like, it wasn't hitting as hard. But it is an acquired taste. I would...
A solid 2.5 or 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 2 out of 5.
Yeah. And as far as the IPA, like you said, I might go 2.5. If somebody's new to IPAs, they might think this is a 3. It's not that it's bad. It's just so goddamn average. Like, I almost wish it was bad to make it interesting. But, yeah, it's, it's got Stone Cold's name, so they can. Now, see, we talked about collecting. I'll probably save this can.
That's a can to save.
I'll clean it out.
Yeah,
this is one I'll save. But, yeah. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for following us. Thank you for supporting us wherever you are. But if you aren't already, please make sure, head over to our site, subscribe to us there. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a moment. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you ever want to hear anything from us, make sure you comment below. And we are available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, literally wherever podcasts are available. If you haven't already, if you listen to us on any of those, please make sure you rate us. And if you wouldn't mind, give us a 5 and blast the shit out of us, even if you hate hearing us talk. It would really mean a lot, and we truly appreciate it.
Yep, for real. Anything you can do will be a great help.
So with that, everyone, we want to say cheers and good night.
Cheers, guys.